And as always, we start this part of the show with our topic of the week. The topic of the week is business versus pleasure. Where's the line? Ladies. Ooh. Okay, go on, Soph. You start, babe.
I think there's a very clear line between business and pleasure.
I like that.
It's a very clear line.
There
is a very clear line.
Is there?
Business is business, pleasure is pleasure, and I think that it's very important to get an equal balance. I think if you're working too much and you're neglecting your family or your friends, you need to sort of stop and assess that. I think that obviously you've got the situation, Christmas parties, that kind of thing, where maybe the line might be a bit blurred.
Oh, really?
You're talking from experience or just general knowledge sort of thing?
General knowledge, yeah.
Oh, Abs, what do you reckon, babe?
I kind of agree with Sophie, being a fellow pragmatic Capricorn. I think black is black and white is white. I think when you merge the line, I think you're at risk of risking your credibility, risk of risking, the project that you're working on. I think if you want to be taken seriously in business, then you've got to deal with the business at hand when it's business time, and then you draw the line somewhere, and then it's playtime.
I kind of get the sense that you're actually talking about relationships in business rather than yes. The audience agree there.
Rather than
I think so.
Rather than
business as a whole in terms of your time management. So, what do you reckon?
I think you should have a well-rounded life. Basically, there's this thing called the wheel of life, and you put all your different health and your career and your playtime, and then you have to mark out of 10 how do you think you're rating in that stage of your life. You need that well-balanced life.
Oh, however, I'm going to ask you that question.
But if you're starting a business, you've got to graft for a couple of years and reap the rewards later.
But when you say pleasure, Kubi, what do you mean? You're not talking about flirtations and affairs and...
Well, I mean, that's one end of pleasure, but then there's also the end in terms of, your health and relaxation and times with your family and times with your girlfriends.
Yes.
That's what we said. We said, you need to assess, you can't be working too much. You need to look that you're not neglecting your friends and your family and your actual personal life. If you work 24/7, if you're setting up a business, you do actually have to do that for a couple of years. But you said, not that I know, I haven't set up my own business, but you can't suddenly turn around in 10 years and look and have absolutely nothing, and I think sometimes people sort of go into their work so much that they socialise with their work colleagues, they work with them all day, they
marry them.
They marry them. So, and I think that you really, really have to keep an equal balance. I think it's very important, and I think in today's world that people do work a lot longer hours and they do take a lot less holidays. You have a number of people that don't take their full annual leave allocation because they can't fit it in, and I think that's wrong.
It's interesting. I mean, I personally think that I always struggle with that balance. It's kind of in your head, you say, yes, right, I'm only going to work until 6 and I'm going to leave and I'm going to go home and I'm going to go to the gym.
Just never quite works like that.
It doesn't quite happen. It's like you have to pencil in the diary, along with the meetings and the appointments, you actually have to pencil in me time,
social
or
life,
time with the girlfriends, or, so that's my opinion. But audience, what do you think? Can we grab one of you for an opinion? You're not going to pick anyway. What's your name, my darling?
Tina.
Tina, and what do you think? Work-life balance?
I think as long as you have the balance, you can have the pleasure at work.
Okay.
I have lots of fun with my work colleagues, and it's one of the reasons I'm able to stay at work for so long, because actually it's a giggle. We can get the work done, but we can also have a laugh, we can go to lunch, we can go out in the evenings. And that's one of the reasons why I work such long hours. Having said that, I then do need to go home and switch off and be with my children.
Do you have to? So you're a mum as well.
I think you have to assess the situation as you go along.
Right.
I think it's a great idea to sit down and do that wheel thing, and every now and again on paper have an understanding of where your life is going.
Yeah.
But you also have to be able to day assess how much time and energy and effort you're putting into any one task.
And it might change at different times, mightn't it?
Yeah.
You might be working longer on a project and working long hours, and then maybe the following month you're freed up with a lot more time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's something. I think you're exactly right. You have to keep assessing it and keep it in check, because it is easy to work all the time.
I was going to say,
it really is, and certainly, I mean, I work in the arts and entertainment, and I know you do also, and it's quite easy to sort of suddenly it feels like going out to a party is work, even though it isn't.
Absolutely. It's funny. I'm at a point where to go to a club or a bar in my personal time, I just won't do it because it's work for me.
Right.
It's, you know, so
You'd rather sit at home.
I'd rather, or go to the theatre or go for dinner. I literally.
Whereas me, opposite. So
Yeah,
go to the theatre.
Yeah, exactly. But what else? Anybody else in the audience? Gentleman there, I'm going to pick on you.
Okay, I'm Albert.
Okay.
I own my own business, and for me, it's almost 24/7 work.
Yeah.
And so there is no balance. And even though I know there's a need for balance, there just isn't any. The business is young. I'm an accountant, so it's a young practice. Lots of clients to deal with, and that's what I do.
But then how do you make sure that you're replenished to be able to keep going?
I work more for replenishment.
Oh,
I recognize it. It's not a life really, but with a young business, that's what you have to do. I mean, I can probably look at another couple of years being able to have more time, but right now, there isn't a balance.
okay. I'm going to ask the gentleman in front of you to cut in there, because I actually know you, Martin.
Do, don't you?
And you work in health.
I
So
work in
what's your
health.
opinion on all of this?
Well, it's very important to keep the balance with everything. Nutrition, relaxation, work, family, interests beyond work. I really believe that that's the key to living a fulfilled life, is that to keep the whole balance going.
And Martin, just to probe this a little bit more, because working in health, you work in massaging people, etc.
That's right.
And so you see the ramifications of when people just work.
That's right.
Yeah?
Well, too much stress equals illness usually. So many of the illnesses that we're experiencing today are exacerbated, if not caused, by stress.
And that doesn't make employees very productive either,
No,
does it?
no, it doesn't.
Exactly,
It
yeah.
doesn't. Is there anybody else in the audience? That's
Yes,
got a
I'd
No?
like to sort of actually go with, sorry, your name
Martin.
is Martin, and mix the actual two with Stu there in terms of the philosophy of having to work. And you first, I believe you have to love your business, and that's where you will get your pleasure. And you make that accessible to the people you will approach. Also, your clients will appreciate you more and want you more. Also, there is a sort of responsibility that comes with that, I believe, in terms of having to work and, you know, bring together the pleasure of doing what you do. But also, I feel when clients want too much of you, you have the responsibility to sort of draw the line to
Yes.
say, look, this is what I'm really
I'm going
doing.
to come and hug you because I agree with that so much.
You know, that's what I believe. You know,
Yeah.
and it's, me, I'm lighting technician.
Fantastic.
But
Any
I
others?
used well, I just recently done the Brits, so I had front row seats of just like, you know, being in and out of there all day.
But you have a point, and it's an interesting one, because when you start a business, I mean, and the gentleman next to you, Albert, mentioned the
Yeah.
business is new.
Yeah.
You feel as if your clients do dictate your life,
Yes.
and so you're working and working and
Yeah.
working and working.
It-
But it
yeah.
comes a point where you have to say, okay, enough now.
Yeah.
Actually, I
Yeah.
need to take back some control.
Yeah, so, totally. And
Anybody agree with that? Anybody else? Any of the women in the audience?
Come on.
The girl power? Oh no, they are not going to go high on us.
A friend of mine went on holiday for the first time in like sort of, 5 years on a 2-week holiday. No, she's always had like, 1 week,
Okay,
long
right.
weekend.
Got you.
Visit. She went on a 2-week holiday and she said she felt so different. And I don't know about anybody else. If you go away for a week, you just start to sort of, you sleep for the first
The first 4
half,
days.
and then you sort of feel, a bit better, and then it's time to go home. And she said having 2 weeks off, she actually realised
Made all the
how
difference.
exhausted she actually was. And I think that you need to sort of recognise, I don't think it's good to be that exhausted.
I think that's
all
the
time.
sad thing. I think a lot of the time you don't realise how stressed you are. It's always in hindsight. Or it's always when something manifests, like you get some sort of illness or problems with your back or your joints, or start suffering from migraines and things like that. That's when you realise that you're actually overstressed. Other than that, we generally as humans, it's human nature to just keep going and going and going, especially if you've set a pattern for yourself. So it's like, I really like what you said about that wheel, because it makes you stop and start.
My dad, he gave me some invaluable advice, and he said, don't let your business become you. You are you, and your business is your business.
Yeah.
And he's
It's
just like,
easy.
you've got to live your life.
Yeah, but it's easy for that to become blurred, isn't it? Really, it's easy to get your identity from your business.
Yes,
because you're so
absolutely.
into it, you're so passionate about it, and I think you really do need to sort of ensure that you keep your personal life going. I suppose.
But it's hard. How do you do it? How do you take that sort of like rain check? How do you kind of,
Well, it's
hard to-
interesting that in terms of advice, because my eldest brother, who's been running his own businesses since he was in his teens, what he does is he says every 6 weeks he goes away. So from the beginning of the year, he'll book in where he's going every 6 weeks. And sometimes it's a weekend away, sometimes it's a full-blown holiday, but he always makes sure he does that. And it has a two-prong approach. One is that it makes you look forward to the fact that
Something,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly, to something. And secondly, it forces you to stop. And he says that his staff hate it because when he comes back, he's re-energized and he's ready to go, and you know, he's kicking everybody's butt.
He's obviously built himself up though to a position where he can afford to go away.
Oh, so you're saying every 6 weeks.
Yeah, you know, right?
On that note, in terms of affordability, as always, we want to hear what you think with the topic of the week. Go on the website. If you don't know the address, I don't know why, I'm going to give it to you again, www.sisterhoodtv.com.